Steel Curtain Network.
Touchdown! Touchdown para Calvin Austin! El Monte Washington es arma. ¿Quién más? ¿Quién más? DJ Watt!
What's up, Steeler fans? Welcome back to another Steelers preview podcast. I'm Jeff Hartman, joined by Dave Schofield and Bryan Davis. Dave, what's up?
Not too much. I'm just
getting
things are
crazy.
What I don't know what's going on with the echo. It's gone. Who was that?
Oh, you know who it was.
It was Bryan.
Oh, was it our good buddy Bryan?
Oh, yeah. If there's a screw up, hi, I'm Bryan Anthony Davis, and I'm screwing up things for the Steelers preview here on the Steel Curtain Network, proud part of the fans' first sports network. Back to you, Jeff.
I'm doing great now that I can actually hear what I'm saying. Thank you, Bryan.
I had to change my mic settings. It resets every single time. You know?
Oh, that's crazy. But hey, weird to be talking to you guys before my other shows. It just seems off with Mike Tomlin not talking until 2:30 on Tuesday. Then we've got the preview on a Tuesday. It just everything just feels different. But you know what? Maybe feeling different isn't a bad thing.
Yeah, for the second straight week, we're doing a doubleheader. Dave and his big bro Rich will still be here for the Scobro show after this, probably around 9:00 Eastern time. And we're probably not going to run this on the audio side until Thursday, but we wanted to get this in because of Thanksgiving and the holiday. But Bryan, now that you are back in the saddle and we're comfortable now, how is everything going?
Oh, it's really good. I mean, I've had a hell of a day, and I come in here and I just do this. One of these days, I'm gonna have like the perfect week, and I'm not talking a Barney Stinson perfect week, Dave, but I'm gonna have a perfect week, and we're not gonna have these little screw ups. But it's good to be back. Glad to be here. I'm thankful. This is one of my favorite weeks of the year, and we're gonna talk all about just getting back on track after that mini bye.
Now, this is going to be a weird show because if you're listening to this on Thursday on the audio side, you're thinking, oh, they're going to go over the injury report, all this stuff. We're not. It's Tuesday when we're recording this live, and there has not been an injury report. Mike Tomlin did speak to the media on Tuesday. They did have I guess you would call it a light practice Tuesday, but there's not reported. You have people that are saying, Alex Highsmith didn't participate in drills and stuff like that. But we don't have as much intel as we normally do on a Thursday for an upcoming game on Sunday. Dave, you did the press conference recap podcast. What were some of the big bullet points for you after Mike Tomlin spoke to the media at 2:30, mind you?
Okay, well, the first thing is the injuries. So he did say about Alex Highsmith will be leaning in, I think is the way that he said that. But the reports were that he wasn't practicing on Tuesday today. And that we'll see what actually happens on Wednesday, but he was running and things like that. He also mentioned the return of Corey Trice could be there. And he mentioned Montravius Adams. So that's another one who could be coming back. Maybe his window opens up. It has not been done so officially at this time when we're recording this. But when does Corey Trice's window close?
Should be coming up.
That's what I thought, that it should be. I mean, I think Corey Trice lands back on the 53-man roster this week. The only question is, do they actually have a helmet to give him on game day? He could end up back on the 53, but not active. It very well could happen. So we'll see how that all works out. But other bullet points are, man, there was some fast and furious questions today. There really were. There was a number of questions about the 3rd and 4 play, the Steelers' last offensive play with the lead, and what they were trying to do there, if they would do it over. Lots of even more bullet points. There was a lot of questions that basically tried to get that. They basically answered the question for Tomlin in the question. And they'd say, oh, was it this or was it this? And then he would say it was both. That happened a lot if you listen to the podcast that I did.
Yeah.
So just overall with everything is they got to get better. They recognize that they need to be better in short yardage situations and in the red zone, both on offense and defense, Mike Tomlin said about the red zone.
November 14th was when his window was started, when he returned to practice. So,
So
21
he's
days.
got another week.
Yeah, he still got into so he doesn't have to come back for this game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Montravius Adams, he has sat out the 4 games. And as of next week, Roman Wilson is eligible after sitting for 4 games if they want to start his window. So those are 2 players to keep your eye on. I wrote that article, I think, for SteelCurtainNetwork.com on Monday. Bryan, I know you haven't had a chance to listen to the not to the podcast, I guess Dave's podcast, but you haven't listened to the press conference yet. What's your take on those injured players that Dave just mentioned?
Montravius Adams is a big deal for me. I think he stuffs a lot of things up front. He is a very important player. I know Benton's the guy, but with the packages that they have, number 57 is a big deal. So I like that. The Corey Trice thing, it almost feels like he's not coming back yet, but if he does, great. I like the signing of Eric Rowe to the practice squad last week. I think that helps things out along. This team keeps on getting deeper and stronger with those small little, last guy off the bench moves. They are making those moves that I really like, that no one's going to sing about until Eric Rowe picks one off and he's in there and you're like, wow, I forgot about this guy. And he did it last year. No, but really, if you knew his name last year, then you're in really good shape. I didn't know his name until I saw number 25 out there and I looked it up and he started doing things. And then I was singing his praises. So I really like that. The other thing, the Roman Wilson thing, I don't know if he's ready to get on the moving train. I don't know if this is a true redshirt year for him, because remember, even if he's ready, Mike Williams isn't getting a lot of love yet.
Right.
And they're trying to get him going as well, and make room for him. I don't know if there's even, if he comes back to the roster, I don't know if he gets a helmet on Sundays. But I think this is a very healthy team. Once again, going into the bye, after the mini bye, going into the Bengals game, and the Bengals, we know they're rested too, because they had their bye this week. But the Highsmith thing, if you have to wait another week for Highsmith, you have Preston Smith, you have Nick Herbig. Nick Herbig announced his presence with authority last week right away in that game. So you do have those 2 guys, but I'd love to be full strength and have extra depth.
So I don't think, if my gut reaction, this is just my gut reaction, is that I don't think Alex Highsmith returns this week. I just think that they're going to be cautious with that ankle. The last thing you want is a setback and then having him miss more time, unless he goes out on practice on Wednesday and is a full participant, which I highly doubt. I still think he's probably a week away. When you talk about Corey Trice, I can't help but think if he's fully healthy, and I think that he is, I think they're just being smart and biding their time in regards to when he gets activated off the injured reserve. If something happens to, let's say, Dante Jackson, because he's the one that typically leaves with injury, I would much rather see Corey Trice out there than our buddy Jimmy Pierre. Just from a cornerback standpoint, James Pierre has a massive amount of value on special team. But from a cornerback standpoint, I would rather see Corey Trice in there. That's just me. I think that they will probably activate him. I don't think Montravius Adams returns this week. But I don't know. Dave, did you want to add something?
Yeah. You're spot on, because the question is, if Corey Trice comes back, who doesn't get the helmet? Is it another player in the secondary? Do they try to not give one somewhere else? Right now, the way it's sitting, you pretty much know who's not going to, because I'm even assuming when Alex Highsmith comes back, you're probably looking at Jeremiah Moon not getting a helmet.
Yeah. So
you're looking at these things. Are you going to take someone like a Matakevich or a Mark Robinson that are core special teams guys? What about, who's going to be your gunner if it's not James Pierre? I mean, I know you got Skoranek as one, but these are the questions that you have to answer when these guys come back. And Bryan brought up, why can't I remember his name? The safety that they signed to the practice squad that played last year. He said it earlier.
Eric Rowe.
Yes. Sorry, it just escaped me for a moment. Those are the type of signings that you're making this time of year to prepare when the injury bug comes back. Because right now, think about it. the Steelers haven't really, Highsmith is really the only player that they've lost since the bye. And he's on the cusp of coming back. So you want to have these players lined up. I mean, it was a very, this is really insurance thing last year when the Steelers brought Miles Jack back to the practice squad. And people are like, oh, they're bringing him back because they're going to play him. Well, they're only going to play him if they have to. Guess what? They had to. Why was Eric Rowe out there? They had to. So it's smart to get those type of players that are out there on your practice squad to say, hey, we right now we're in good shape, but that might not continue to be the case. So that's what some of these moves are. And honestly, that might be what happens with Corey Trice. He might end up back with the 53 and he might not get a helmet. But I also wouldn't be shocked if something happened to a starter that he would, not only would he get a helmet the next week, he could possibly even start in their place.
Yeah.
So that it's so much so, but because of the versatility of a Cam Sutton that can fill in all those other places and everything, it's a really good problem to have to be getting more healthy players than what you can find time to get them on the field. That's not a bad thing. And Bryan said about Roman Wilson, I agree. I don't know the advantage of bringing him back at this point, because if he's going to need a lot of practice time, I mean, my goodness, they might want to consider, opening his 21-day window at the end, towards the end of the season where he can at least practice, but they might not even have to bring him back because, but then when you make the playoffs, it's a whole nother decision. But the reason you might want to wait there is, Scotty Miller's not even getting a helmet. Right. And are you going to have Roman Wilson take his roster spot and then just not get a helmet? I don't know. But then if injuries pop up, then you have something that you could try to expedite that process.
Bryan, anything to add?
And I don't think you want to lose Scotty or Dave. So I appreciate you saying that.
So
you definitely don't want to do that.
One of those depth guys. Yeah.
But you brought up a point too that made me think more about you stockpiling those healthy players. That move of Julius Weiskopf, bringing him back to the practice squad. I love it because he's healthy. He did some really nice things in preseason. I would love to see him just get some action and be ready. If that's a guy that you gotta, God willing, you don't want to, but if you have to bring in Weiskopf, that's another good guy to get seasoned.
Well, and not only that, they had to have liked him just because they already have an IPP player on their practice squad and the International Pathway Program. They already have one, a defensive back. Can't even say his name. I sent it to Jeff earlier.
Jeff's comment was great.
Unless they end up releasing him, for somebody else at some point. But I mean, that's how much they like this guy, that it wasn't the token, IPP player. Don't know if they're really going to help us, like the tight end they had several years ago. But I can't
the English guy.
The English guy. Liked him a lot.
He had 3 names.
Yes, he did. But it's not even that. That's how much they liked him as a player to bring him back. That's not just that token spot. He's taking up one of the 16 spots. And and like you said, I like it. I liked what he was doing in the preseason before he got hurt.
You down with IPP? Yes, Jeff and me.
There it is. All right. Something I wanted to bring up. Excuse me. Something I wanted to bring up.
So bad. From
Mike Tomlin's press conference. And Dave, you might have a little bit more insight. I got to be honest, my kids were pissing me off to no end during the press conference. I'm trying to listen. They're being loud, running around the house.
I'm checking my notes, so I'm ready.
Yeah. So he talked a lot about replay assist. And replay assist has screwed the Steelers on more than one occasion this year. And when I say screwed, let me be specific. Mike Tomlin on the sideline, especially when they're trying to move quickly, is assessing the situation down and distance and what they're going to do in terms of personnel. And they're trying to move quick. A lot of times you're trying to get the defense in a bad position. And the replay assist, which is essentially someone from upstairs or New York, whatever it is, they say you spotted it incorrectly. It should be here. And then the ball gets moved, and now the circumstances have changed. Maybe a 4th and short, half a yard turns into a long 4th and a yard and a half. Maybe that changes the personnel. There was a lot of discussion there. he was asked, I know he was asked, do they give you more time? Dave, did he answer that?
That was one of those where there was so many questions coming so fast. I didn't even get to write that one down, and I didn't even mention it in the press conference recap. So I'm glad you brought it up here, because I was trying to get a feel of exactly what he was saying, because I can't. What was a replay assist? What one was actually replay assist in the last game?
I think it was one of the 4th and shorts.
Okay,
and because they had the wrong personnel out there. And so they're trying to substitute. And then another time they were going to punt the ball, replay assist changes it. Zach Frazier's running off the field and they got to get him back on the field. And then everything's quick. Nothing is prepared. They're having to rush to the line and you don't want to burn a timeout. So
now, did that happen, or did that happen on the Boz field goal? I don't know if it did or it didn't, but that wouldn't have shocked me. I mean, they should reset the play clock to 25 seconds. The motion that I gave is what they do, what the officials do, and the players are often asking for it at times, where it's like, looks like raise the roof with one hand is, in other words, for those of you listening in audio form.
You look like a waiter.
Yeah, yes, like you're carrying the tray and getting a workout at the same time. They should, but I think Mike Tomlin's frustrated because I think the officials really flubbed some things up in that last game. I think it comes down to the official that's the side judge on your side. If they're not a very good communicator and the one on the other side is a good communicator, that other team has a great advantage.
Yeah.
Because Steelers didn't know what was going on that penalty and everything and had to burn that time out. And I like I said, I don't fault the Steelers. That was in my one article. I don't fault them for using that timeout, that second timeout on that 3rd and 7 play late in the game, because they were put in such a bad spot. They had to call a timeout and they just weren't ready. Now, what sucked is even after the timeout, they still gave up the first down. But if they wouldn't have, it would have been, what a genius timeout. So you wish they would have done better out of it. But that's on the officials. If you're not communicating well with one sideline versus the other, that's a major problem. That's a major problem. And the NFL really should make sure that there's an issue. And trust me, I don't think they want to have that issue where you're not communicating well to one team and that's someone on the competition committee, because that's something that'll then be brought up to the officials during the offseason. But it doesn't really help the Steelers in week 12.
No, it doesn't. And I got to, before I throw it to Bryan, I've said this a million times. It's a hill I'm willing to die on. It is a multi-billion-dollar industry that is still using sticks, chains, and old white guys to decide whether it's a first down or not.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you have all these other sports that are going to using technology to say where the ball should be spotted, whether they got a first down, whether the ball crossed the goal line, come on, NFL. We can do better. And then when you have those spots, even when you go to the Washington Commanders game, the Zach Ertz catch, it comes down to people that are running to the play, trying to spot where the ball was caught. They're not standing there watching it. They're having to run down the sideline. It's a nightmare. But Bryan, what did you want to add? Anything?
Sticks, chains, and old white guys. Sounds like Jeffrey Epstein's island.
Oh my God.
No, don't go there.
You just got a glimpse into Bryan Davis's Thanksgiving dinner right there.
If you put that in the live chat, I'd have put you in a timeout.
Yeah, you know what? I'm agreeing with you completely. The chips are already in the balls, right?
No, not all of them. They tried it in the preseason, I think, with
no.
games.
The next gen stats.
The next gen stuff, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and then if you've got a chip in there, that would really, think about it. If it's going in there anyway, how much of a difference would it really need to be to have one part of that chip be? It's got to be something that tracks it in that way. It's tracking the spin and things like that. Even if you're going to take one chip out that does that and put in another one that does that and more, that really shouldn't change anything. So my point is, it's not like there's no chip in the ball. There is a chip in the ball. The question is, do you have the chip there doing what you want it to do?
Yeah. This whole thing is very confusing to me, because a part of me wants to go ahead and say, hey, look, yes, the snow both teams need to be prepared for the snow. But I think the snow had a lot to do with that in the second half too, with confusion, with just, I mean, the officials were garbage. I know that, but their vision is even worse in the snow. I think the situation that I felt like the Browns situationally didn't have to deal with the confusion that the Steelers had to do in the snow just because of what the situation was at hand. The Browns weren't facing complicated situations like the Steelers were. And I know that sounds absolutely crazy, but I'm going to stick with that. But I agree with you both on this. I was very critical of this team right after the game, saying that I felt like they were not prepared for anything, but just everything that seemed to have gone strange went in that game. And there were just little things like that, like the replay assist, like just like everything that threw things off. I'd like to think with a mini bye that this team is even more prepared for situations and has more of a handle on the two quarterback situation. I love the two quarterback situation. I want them to hone it more. And I think it's something, if you keep polishing it, it's going to look really good by the time it's done. I hope that they don't abandon it because the kinks weren't all worked out. This is something they didn't work out in preseason. They weren't even thinking about doing that in preseason. But now, as they work it out, and they do some great work in the bubble or on the practice field. And so, I'm feeling that with all these things, there's going to be a lot less confusion, but I thought it was a perfect storm against the Steelers.
Well, he brought up another interesting topic from the press conference.
What's that?
The idea of switching quarterbacks. Because that was one thing Coach Tomlin was asked about a good bit.
And Tomlin said essentially that it's based on the opponent. It's just because you saw it more last week doesn't mean you'll see it more this week. You buying that, Dave?
Well, why would he want to tip their hand if you're going to see it more or less or whatever? That would just be dumb to really say anything other than what he said. I mean, my goodness, you're trying to game plan against another team. You want them to
want
be ready.
To see it more?
I'm going to save my answer for the Scobro show later tonight. I have it, but I'm afraid it's going to get into being too long.
That's
here.
Bryan,
Since I'm permanently banned from the Scobro show,
sure.
I'm going to go ahead and say, yeah, I do want to see it. I like that wrinkle that they have. I just want it to be polished. I want it to be done better.
I'll give you a quick.
I actually don't want to see it more.
I do.
Okay,
I do. And people are like, "Oh, why would you do that?" And that? How is it any different than running the Wildcat? It's really not. It's just a new gimmick using a specific spot. But the problem is, like with Wildcat, Bryan and I in the spooning incident, you can do that in the wrong spot, and that's what the Steelers, I feel, did once. Last game is they did it in the wrong spot. If you're going to be throwing the ball on the most critical third down of the game, you probably want your quarterback that's been in there throwing the ball the whole time. But I'm not going to complain too much because some people are like, oh, well, they didn't. What did it do? The Steelers have only scored one time from the red zone in the last two games. What was that touchdown? A read option with Justin Fields.
Yeah. To Jalen
Warren, where he handed it off. Because you got to think, him handing it off is just as important as him. Two huge plays was him handing it off. The Jalen Warren touchdown and the third down conversion against the Ravens to win the game, where it was Justin Fields in there, but the threat of him handing it off. Why would you want to take that away when it's actually seemed to be an asset? And the one time it didn't work on fourth down, it just got. I don't think was the line not ready, whatever. It just got blown up before it started.
Yeah. So I think that it's going to be interesting to see how they utilize this moving forward. Let's talk a little bit about the Bengals, even though they're coming off their bye. They are a team that scores a lot of points. They also give up a lot of points. This is not like Baltimore. Baltimore's defense gave up a ton of yards through the air, but they were very good against the run. Cincinnati's more of a bland middle of the pack, tail end of the NFL ranking in most averages in terms of yards per game, points per game. And so when you think about this game being played in Cincinnati on Sunday, what are some of the key things you're looking for? Bryan, we'll start with you.
Stopping Jamar Chase and stopping those tight ends. I think this is a situation where the defense could really needs to be put on notice here, because they have the firepower. They can score fast on you. I don't really feel that the running game is as strong as it was in the Joe Mixon era. Chase Brown's a good running back. He catches a good ball out of the backfield, but I'm more worried about tight ends there. And if it's not Gesicki, it's the other guy that I'm trying to learn his name. It just always seems like Cincinnati has had that tight end situation figured out recently with guys that you just don't even remember their names. But so, I mean, I know Hayden Hurst was there. There was another 87. I can't even remember his name.
Eckler. No, not Eckler. It was he was from Notre Dame. Oh gosh, what was his name?
Oh yeah. The big guy. Yeah. 2013 draft. Yeah. I wasn't even thinking of him. Ensler or
I'll look it up.
No, I was thinking of more of an Italian name from the past couple of years. But anyways, but Jamar Chase is dangerous, and so is T. Higgins.
There it is, Tyler Eifert. Yep.
Thank you, Kyle Smith, in the live chat.
Yes. There you
go. So all I'm going to say is I really think you've got to buckle down on defense here, because they can slit your throat.
Dave, what's your take on the Bengals?
Well, first of all, I do want to say, how can we forget Tyler Eifert? Isn't that the one that Keith Butler said they had to prepare for, and here he was out for the season?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was our final straw.
Okay.
Butler.
Did you say offense or just in general?
Just in general.
Okay, good, because it's the same answer either way. I just wanted to make sure which angle I had to take it. The key to this game is you got to put on your big boy britches and freaking win the trenches, because you lost them on Thursday on both sides.
Yeah.
You've got to play big boy football, and you go down there and you push that Bengals defense around up front, which is something that we haven't seen a lot from the Steelers offensive line. We've seen it in flashes, but this is the time of year, if the line's going to, that's the thing with the young line. I'll give him more time. Guess what? We are now into December football. The time is now. You got to get the big boys up front. You've got to get the job done. And it's not like you got a bunch of guys waiting in the wings because the injuries have kept them out. The Steelers would have had, 7 solid offense. I mean, Ryan McCullum did a nice job when he was in there. That's about the only one that you really, feel like could do something. But that's still going in for who should be your center for the next decade. You got to win it up front. And that also includes in the defense. The defense wasn't as bad in the trenches as what the offense was. And it's not that they were bad. It's just they didn't win. You didn't win. You need to win the trenches in this game, and that's going to make a big difference. Because if you're winning it on offense, you're going to be able to run the ball, control the ball, keep the clock going. The best thing to do to defend Joe Burrow is to keep him on the sideline. So do that by winning the trenches up front on offense. And if you're winning in the trenches on defense, you're just not letting them get any kind of run game, and you're getting more pressure on Joe Burrow, because as Jeffrey Benedict said when he guested and came back for a glorious return on the Q&A Sunday night, that if you want to get to Joe Burrow, you got to hit him.
Yeah. I'm glad to hear that Mike Tomlin, I don't know if he said this or if players said it, but excuse me, the practice they had on Tuesday was all red zone offense and red zone defense. Thank goodness. The team that wins in those areas, offensively and defensively, is going to win this game. I fully expect this to be a higher scoring game than we're accustomed to seeing. And I know we said that about Baltimore, but Baltimore, again, has a different style of defense. Cincinnati, like I said, their defense just isn't, there's nothing notable about their defense outside of the fact that Mike Hilton is over there again still. So I think that this is a game the team that controls the ball, which will probably be the Steelers. They'll probably win time of possession. I believe they're the number 1 time of possession team in the NFL entering week 13. And they're just not converting in the red zone. Their red zone conversion rate sucks. And so if they can clean that up by any means necessary, this is going to be a tough game for the Bengals to win. So I'll tell you what, we're going to take a quick break. For those that are watching us live on any platform, we're not going anywhere. On the audio side, we'll be right back after this break. All right, Steeler fans, we are back. Thank you all for being patient. Second half is when we have some fun. We talk about over-under. We do our score predictions. That's weird, trying to think about this on a Tuesday when you haven't seen injury reports and stuff like that. But so maybe that'll change, but lines can change. All this stuff can change. But let's update our over-unders. Dave, why don't you go ahead and do that?
Oh my, what a week it was. We've got some separation here, fellas. And it's not where you think it was. We had poor old Jefferson only ended up with 2 out of the 6 correct, and I only got 3, while Bryan crushed us getting 5 out of 6.
Ooh.
With the only one he missed was the one that we all agreed on. So Bryan really took it to us there. Bryan also was the only one we all took the Steelers, so we missed that one. But Bryan was the only one who took the over, while Jeff and I both took the under. So that means overall, Bryan has the lead with 38 to Jeff's 36 to my 31. And then Bryan and I both are at 11 when it comes to the game and over under, while Jeff is still sitting at 10.
Welcome to the woodshed, boys.
There's still a lot of time left. As my dad's friend used to say when we would go golfing and we would be struggling, he said, Jeff, there's a lot of paper left. There's a lot of paper left. And you get to the back nine, you can't say that anymore. We're running out of paper.
I never brag. This is the only lead I'm going to have all year because I'm going to tank it. So, boys, again, welcome to Bad's Woodshed.
All right. So this is going to be the over-under that is the 2.5 over-under. There's a lot of 2.5s in this one. Are you ready, Dave?
I am ready.
All right. The first one is George Pickens receiving yards. And I've got this one a little bit higher than usual. I've got 75.5. Bryan, over under.
I'm actually going to go. Wow, I can't believe I'm going to do this. I'm going to go with the over. I think it's a breakout game. He did well against Cincinnati last year. I'm going to hope that continues.
All right, Dave.
I have a feeling we might all agree on this one because I'm taking the over as well. Just because, I mean, what did he have last week? Pickens?
Let me look.
I can't remember.
I got it right.
I mean, I think he's been over 75.5.
48. He had 48.
He only had 48. Oh, that's right. I was thinking of the week before. Those two games happened so close together. I forget what's happening. But I'm going to take the over on this one.
I am too. The Bengals secondary is banged up. I don't know who they're going to try and cover George Pickens with.
Is Taylor Britt available?
I don't know. I don't know if he's available. I know they lost another one.
I think he's hurt.
Well, I know he was last year when they played him, but he's the best guy. That's why I didn't know. Okay.
We'll see. Anyways. All right, let's start.
We could check that injury report. Oh, wait, it's Tuesday.
Exactly. Let's start the 2.5 race. Mike Williams targets 2.5. Bryan, over under.
I can't say that it's going to be over until I see him do it. So under.
All right, Dave.
Oh, I so don't want it to be, but I'm going to have to agree with Bryan, so I can't make up any ground. I'm going to take the under.
Every week I'm trying to go out on a limb. I think they're going to try and get him the football this week. I'm going to go over. I'm going to say 3.
That would be wonderful.
Targets, just targets, not catches, just targets.
Yeah. I hope you're right.
All right.
Well, I mean, he's averaging 0.33 targets per game with the Steelers.
Yeah. All right, the 2.5 game continues. Pittsburgh Steelers takeaways. 2.5 over under, Bryan.
I am actually going to go with the under this week. I could see them getting to. I think 3 might be lofty.
All right, Dave.
Man, Bryan, why do you keep taking all my answers? I'm going to go under as well with 2. I still think the Steelers could end up +2. I think after especially with the Bengals coming out of the bye and the Steelers coming off a mini bye, I think both of them are going to be very cognizant of taking care of the football more. So I think even getting 2 would be a nice job.
I was leaning under as well. All right, the 2.5 game continues. Pittsburgh Steelers team sacks. I can't believe this is the line, 2.5. They had 1 last week, just 1. Brian?
I really don't like taking the over with sacks, but heck, I'm going to do it this week. I don't know how much I like that offensive line in Cincinnati. I mean, I might be wrong, but I don't think the guards are as strong as what they were in Cleveland. So I'll go ahead and say if the Steelers need to win the trenches, they're going to have to get more than 2.5, like Dave said. So let's go ahead and go with the over.
Oh my goodness, Brian, I'm writing down my picks before you answer, so I'm not influenced by it. And we keep having the same ones. I'm going to take over as well with 3.
I have 3 as well. I think they get to Joe Burrow on occasion. So let's keep this party going with Chris Boswell field goals, 2.5. Brian, over under.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm going with the over here.
Oh, you're kidding me. I already have my score pick. I'm going over 2.
I'm going under. Under 2 even.
That would be
we
nice.
We never do this.
So Dave can't pick up any ground on Brian.
I can't get any ground on Brian. We got one more, Jeff. Give me some hope here.
Minka Fitzpatrick, INT. It's a half. Yay or nay, Brian?
I'm going to let Dave go first, and I'm going to go opposite.
No, go ahead.
Okay. I'd love to. He loves playing Cincinnati. I just can't. I don't see it, but he loves playing Cincinnati. So let's say he gets one over.
Dave?
I think they do what everyone else does and tries to avoid him. So I'll go under.
I'm going to go under as well. Try to avoid him like the plague.
Which is funny because last week, part of the reason Brian did so well was Brian took the under on that, and Jeff and I both took the over.
Well, we'll see.
So watch Brian get it right 2 weeks in a row, or 2 games in a row, which would be really nice. I would be happy with that.
All right, so with over-under done, let's take a look at the predictions for the game. Current line. I thought this was very interesting. Now, just as a reminder, this is not in any way indicative of who they think is going to win. They're trying, the sports books are trying to move money. So they have Pittsburgh getting 3 points on the road here.
Love it.
3? I know. I saw initially it was 1.
No, it's 3. It's
Wow.
Steelers plus 3. And the over-under in this game is 47 currently. 47. So, Ryan, what's your score prediction? How do you see this playing out?
I think points are going to be scored in this game. I think it is going to come down to the end. I can see a field goal being the difference in this game. I'm going to go with 33-30, and that is a very high score. I'm going to go the pessimistic route this week. I don't like Ohio. I don't think Ohio is good to the Steelers. I think the Bengals are not ready to pack it in yet. So, unfortunately, this is where I hope I'm wrong, but I'm going to take the Bengals 33-30.
Oh,
Which
gosh.
means no matter
Way
what,
over.
you can't get a point there because you're taking the push. The only way you get the point is if they win exactly by 3.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to take the Bengals 34-30.
Okay, you're going to say 34-30?
Yeah.
So you took the Bengals to cover
Yes.
the 3. Okay, that was,
All right, Dave.
and
what's
that's
your
the
prediction?
over.
And you'll get to say your score prediction on the Scobro Show now.
I will. I know this is going to be nice. That I'll actually get to repeat this. I got to make sure I write it down. This is one of those that I broke down some numbers with trends and everything. And so many times I tell myself, why are you going against these trends? They've come through. I even did an article about trends today at steelcurrentnetwork.com, that the Steelers have 2 big trend breaker games yet to come. One is not this week, but I did throw some trends in about this week at the end. And based on those trends, I'm going to shockingly take the Steelers. And you know what? I'm even going to bet on the Steelers this week because last week I took the Steelers, but bet the Browns on the money line. And I'm going with a little bit of an awkward score. I'm going the Steelers are going to win 30-25.
Oh, okay. 25.
The Bengals are going to go for 2, not get it. And then at the end,
Okay.
they'll need a touchdown instead of a field goal.
Got it. Love it. I'm always curious how people get these numbers. Bryan sometimes just pulls them out his rear end, but still.
Sometimes they work.
I've got to think of a realistic way it could possibly happen. That's the best
I get
I
it.
can do.
So I think that the Steelers, the fan base is down on the team, rightfully so. They feel like, I look at the headline that the Steelers hangover had this week. It's like, I think it was something along the lines of, I feel like we've seen this before. I get it. I get the way that feels. And everyone thinks after Thursday night, this is just going to be the same old Steelers, SOS. But I don't think this team is built that way. I think they're going to improve. I think the mini bye is going to help them a lot. I think that they're going to go, and this is not going to be your conventional Steelers win, but I think the Steelers win 27-24. 27-24, which is slightly just on the overside. And I think that this team, the better days are ahead. We'll put it that way. And how nice would it be to go into Paycor, where nothing good happens by the way, and putting one more nail in the coffin of the Cincinnati Bengals. That's what I would love to see. I mean, look at these scores in the live chat. There's people that are like, oh, Bengals 35-23, Bengals 35-18. Goodness gracious, man. Do you seriously think our defense is going to give up?
That's the same person that put it, though.
That's fine.
Yeah.
But still, do you think our defense is going to give up 35 points? No. I don't think so. Bryan, you said 34, so I guess you think that they could be lit up.
I just think this is a high-scoring game.
Okay.
I think to keep up with the Bengals, you're going to have to put up some points, and the Bengals kept up with the Ravens.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, time for
the
memory
Ravens
lane.
pass defense is
it sucks.
Not ranked very high. Neither the Steelers, that's their weakest rank too on defense, but other than sacks. But
yeah. All right, Bryan, you ready?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Let's talk about a time when the Cincinnati Bengals put 31 up on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And we're going to go back to 1995, one of my favorite years. And as a Steeler fan, it's probably, I know it's one of Jeff's favorite years. I'm sure it's one of Dave's favorite years because it's the year that they finally got back to the Super Bowl, albeit a loss. But that was a special year, week in and week out, especially starting 3-4 and losing that fourth game to the lowly Bengals at home on a Thursday night. Wow, a Thursday night division game. How about that? That's so odd. But the Steelers went right after Thanksgiving, and this was my first ever Thanksgiving away from home, away from Johnstown, Pennsylvania. I moved out. I had to work on Thanksgiving Day. So I went there to go ahead, and actually it was the week before Thanksgiving, excuse me. And we had our Thanksgiving dinner on Sunday because I was going to be gone for Thanksgiving as I moved away. And what happened? The Steelers, who everybody thought they were coming back, they were putting things together, they started off very slow in this game. They were down 31-13 in the third quarter and came back with a flourish. Neil O'Donnell was electric. Everybody was great in this game. Bam Morris went nuts. Everybody. The final score, 49-31. And it was on, baby. It was on. The Steelers moved to 7-4, only lost one more game that season until the Super Bowl.
Very good. Right at the 1:30 mark.
What was the date of that game?
November 19th, 1995.
That's what I thought. And because I remember so that was the weekend before Thanksgiving, right?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, because I remember I was actually out with my dad in his truck, scouting some places in the woods to go hunting, listening to that game on the radio and being disgusted by it, only to hear them come back and take the win. I remember listening to that game.
They were just electric.
That was my senior year of high school. Yeah.
Very good. All right. Trivia time.
All right. Trivia time. We've got another AFC North matchup coming. And I decided, you know what? Let's look at the Steelers' regular season. Remember this. Regular season record against their AFC North opponent in the Mike Tomlin era, because you got to cut it off somewhere. And I just thought I would look at it there. And I looked at each team on the road and at home. So I have it for Ravens home, Ravens away. Bengals home, Bengals away. Browns at home, Browns away. Out of those 6 categories, how many of them do you believe the Steelers would have a losing record?
What was the time frame here?
Since Mike Tomlin, since 2007.
At Cleveland.
So you're saying 1? I'm asking how many.
Oh, how many?
How many of those categories do you think they would have a losing record?
I say 0.
I was just going to say at Cleveland. I think they've had a winning record otherwise.
Okay. And the answer is you couldn't take the under anymore because the answer was 0. They have a winning record in all of those. Which one do they have the best record? Against which team and in which location, home or away?
It's going to be Cincy.
Cincinnati at Cincinnati.
I'm going to say that too.
That would actually be second place. Because remember, in the regular season, the Steelers have not lost to the Cleveland Browns at home.
Oh,
that's correct.
So they are 17-0 under Mike Tomlin when the Browns come to Pittsburgh. You have to go back to 2003 since the last time the Browns won there. Remember, this is regular season because I know
should have saved that for next week, Dave.
No. We'll find other stuff next week. Because the real question was, which one was next? And yes, it is at Cincinnati. The Steelers actually have a slightly better record in Cincinnati than they even do at home against the Bengals. The Steelers are 12-5 at home against the Bengals, while they are 13-4 in Cincinnati. That even includes the 2 games from this year. I just thought I'd throw that out there. So you already have a Baltimore and Cleveland one. And Cleveland is the worst barely. The Steelers, since you guys already guessed that, the Steelers are 9-8-1 in Cleveland, and they are 9-8 in Baltimore.
What are they against Baltimore at home?
11-7.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, so that's how those all break down. So the Steelers still have a winning record there, but that's part of the reason why I went with the Steelers to win is that, my goodness, they're actually a little bit better in Cincinnati than they are at home. Then you throw in the fact that, what do you think over the last 10 years, because this is how far I went back for an article before the schedule even came out. Over the last 10 years, so since 2014, what do you think the Bengals' record is coming out of the bye?
I hope it's not good.
I don't even know where to start on this, Dave.
The last 10 years, 3-7.
I'll go 5-5.
And it's right in between you. It's 4-6. They are 4-6 coming out of the bye. They do not have a winning record. They are 1-2 at home coming out of the bye, giving up. Oh my goodness. I had the numbers in the article. I think it's like outscored 54-116 at home coming out of the bye. So they're a team that gives up a lot of points at home coming out of the bye. But granted, that's only 3 games over 10 years. So where the Steelers, they're 9-2 following coming out of a Thursday game where it's a mini bye, because remember they had 1 year they didn't have it, and 2 years they had it twice. But the one thing I do say about those 2 games is two were in 2 out of the last 3 games were losses. Other than that, they had won a whole bunch in a row. So coming out of the mini bye, generally pretty good for the Steelers. Coming off the bye, hasn't really been as much of an advantage for the Bengals. So hopefully this is a place where all the numbers last week showed me how bad it was. Shouldn't take the Steelers. I mean, my goodness, Cleveland's won at home on a Thursday, 9 games in a row. They're 9-1 since coming back into the league. And yet I'm like, oh, they can break this trend. And they didn't. This one, I don't want them to break the trend. Just keep up what you're doing. Win in Cincinnati. Do a good job coming out of the mini bye. Bengals kind of fall on your face coming out of the bye, and all things are good.
Haven't seen a weather report. It's way too early. So
cold. High of like 27 or something like that. Yeah.
Favor the ground.
Not supposed to be raining or snowing or anything. Just cold.
favor the ground game.
Yeah.
There you go. I love it. All right. Let's do some full frontal final thoughts. Bryan, go ahead.
All right, let's do this. So, a lot of people around this time of year like to celebrate something called Friendsgiving. And for me, we had a Friendsgiving a few years ago, and it was a lot of fun. For me, it's for family. Thanksgiving is one of my favorite holidays. It's one of the most American holidays ever. I just don't like when the Steelers play on Thanksgiving. There's only one good time, and Dave had that as a trivia question last week, I believe, when they played Pat McAfee. And I'm on this Pat McAfee kick. I don't know what it is, but Pat McAfee and the Indianapolis Colts. He did something wild in that game. I can't remember what it was, but nonetheless, I was thinking about how important family is, but I'm also thinking about how important friends are. But my friends here at the Steel Curtain Network are family to me. The live chat is family to me. You all are, even the ones who think I'm an idiot. Hey, I have family members that think I'm an idiot. Spoiler alert. Actually, that's not a
fit
spoiler.
right in.
You knew that, yeah. So, and I know there have been times Jeff and Dave said, "Why is this guy with us?" but you know what? I would go to the ends of the earth with these guys. And so we could have a Friendsgiving together, or I think every week is Friendsgiving on a Thursday night with you guys. Love you to the moon and back. You guys are the best. Our live chat's the best. We can't do it without the live chat, but I don't have a brother. I have a couple brother-in-laws. Most I don't like. There's might be one in there that I do like. But I only have a sister, but I've got brothers here. And I've got brothers and sisters in the live chat. So Jeff and Dave, happy Thanksgiving, my friends. I'm so thankful for every Thursday and every other day of the week that we get to do Steel Curtain Network together.
Awesome, Bryan. Thank you very much. And by the way, Pat McAfee threw a fake punt that game and completed it. And he did the little saunter. He did the saunter. It was MMA there, yeah. Anyways, sorry. Dave, you get the felt up final thoughts this week as Bryan took over the full frontal. So go ahead.
So, well, since speaking of brothers, since Bryan was saying that, here in about an hour, I'll be back here live on YouTube with my brother. For those of you listening here live with us for the Scobro Show, we'll have our regularly scheduled show. If you're listening on the audio, you can go back and listen to that show because it'll already be out. But I just want to thank you guys because with this being a holiday week and a lot of family and travel, I'll be traveling to my brother's house for Thanksgiving and things of that. I know Jeff has family and Bryan's getting together with family, all kinds of good stuff. Is that rather than try to put this show at a time that was closer to Thursday, we made the decision, even though we didn't have an injury report or anything else of that nature, that we were going to do it together, the three of us. So I want to really thank these guys because I was the one who had a tough schedule to accommodate that they were willing to do this. And hopefully you all put up with me because this is 2 out of 3 right now because I got another one coming up. But Steelers fans, just relax. I know sometimes it seems like the fans that really are all in and really want to be completely submerged with Steelers, which if you're listening to this show or in our live chat, you very well were one of those people that you're also the ones that you're very taken up on the now and the most recent thing that the Steelers have done. I loved hearing Jeff talk about on his Let's Ride of just running into some random people over the weekend that were Steelers fans. They're like, hey, they'll be all right. They'll be all right. That's one game. Well, they'll get back on track. I really hope that we can see that. Now, are they going to get back on track this week? I don't know. I think I wouldn't call this a must-win game or anything of that nature, but I think this is going to be a very defining game for the Pittsburgh Steelers because how are you responding after taking one on the mouth from the Browns of all people? You gave them a third win of the season, and now you've got to take a little bit of a break, and you've got to go to Cincinnati. How are you going to respond in this game? How is the defense going to respond? How is the offense going to respond? How are all those little things going to come together? That's why I think this will be a very defining game for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Because you know what? If they don't get it done, that's what you could talk about too as a pattern. So let's just go out there, Steelers, get back on track and get us all excited to be back here talking on the show again next Thursday.
So I'll have final thoughts quickly. And if you didn't listen to my Monday Let's Ride podcast, I talked about why I'm thankful for the Steelers. And one of the things is I was thankful for this platform, thankful for guys like Dave and Bryan. They're good friends of mine. Thankful for the opportunity that we have to cover this team because we are fans. Like there's no company line that we have to toe here. Like we just call it as we see it. You all can disagree. That's fine. We're allowed to do that. And the one thing I'm most proud of is that we're never going to stop this. And what I mean by that is that it's Thanksgiving. Guess what? You're going to get podcasts. You might not listen on that day. You might catch it on Friday or over the weekend. That's fine. You're going to have articles. Might not be as many, but you're going to have something. Just the other day, I saw in a comment thread on our website that on our old stomping grounds, they hadn't even posted an article all day. It's like, man, we're never going to stop doing this. Even if the team sucks, even if they lose tough games, we're still going to be here. It's therapeutic for us. It's therapeutic for you, the fans, and anyone that turns to us for your Steelers content. I want to thank you. I hope everyone has a great Thanksgiving. Gentlemen, I hope you all have a great Thanksgiving. Next week, finally, thank goodness, we'll be back on Thursday. Yes. Hate these weird weeks, but nonetheless, it is what it is. Dave, why don't you send us out?
Hey.
We'll see you next week, everyone. Take it easy.
Steel Curtain Network. Get it.
Everybody else gets a little tight.